The Black Dahlia, a strange, dark, and mysterious case. All right, settle in. Today we're stepping into the strange, dark, and mysterious story of one of the most famous unsolved murders in American history, the brutal, gruesome, and bizarre death of a young woman chasing her Hollywood dream. This is the story of the Black Dahlia. It's a case that shocked the nation, confused police, and still hasn't been solved nearly 80 years later. And the way this story unfolds, it feels like something out of a horror movie, but every single part of this is real. The girl with big dreams, Elizabeth Short. Elizabeth Short was born in Boston in 1924. Her family wasn't rich, and things got even harder when her father left them during the Great Depression. Her mom was left to raise 5 girls all by herself. Elizabeth grew up wanting more, not just money, but glamour, fame, and a way out of her ordinary life. And where do you go for dreams like that? Hollywood. She was beautiful, pale skin, dark curly hair, and these piercing blue eyes. People noticed her. She'd wear flowers in her hair and loved to dress in black, which gave her a very mysterious vibe. That look would earn her a nickname years later, the Black Dahlia. Elizabeth bounced around from Massachusetts to Florida and eventually to Los Angeles. She wanted to act. She wanted to be a movie star, but it wasn't easy. She didn't have connections, so she worked odd jobs, hung out at nightclubs, stayed with friends, and often had no place to really call home. She lived on the edge of Hollywood, not quite in the spotlight, but never giving up on getting there. In early January 1947, Elizabeth was staying in L.A. On January 9th, she was last seen alive at the Biltmore Hotel in downtown. She was in the lobby, possibly waiting for someone. No one knows who, and that was the last confirmed sighting of her. The discovery, a shocking sight in broad daylight. 6 days later, on January 15th, 1947, a woman named Betty Bersinger was walking with her 3-year-old daughter in the Leimert Park neighborhood of Los Angeles. As they passed an empty lot, something caught her eye. What looked like a broken mannequin, but as she got closer, she realized it wasn't a mannequin, it was a woman's body. Not just a body, a horrifying crime scene. The body was cut clean in half at the waist. The 2 parts were placed about a foot apart. Her face was mutilated into a terrifying grin, known as a Glasgow smile, where her mouth was cut from corner to corner. Her arms were raised above her head, and her entire body had been drained of blood, leaving her skin ghostly white. This wasn't a messy crime of passion. It was careful, precise, almost surgical. The killer had cleaned her, posed her, and left her in a way that looked like a twisted art piece. Police arrived quickly, and the press wasn't far behind. Within hours, the story was everywhere. A city obsessed, the media frenzy. The newspapers called her the Black Dahlia, combining her dark hair and clothes with the title of a movie called The Blue Dahlia. It stuck. Soon everyone in L.A. and across America knew that name. Photos of Elizabeth from her modeling days were printed next to headlines describing her brutal death. Journalists swarmed the police station. Some even messed with the crime scene or faked details just to sell more papers. The public was hooked. Who would do this to a 22-year-old aspiring actress? Why did it happen? Was the killer going to strike again? The pressure was now on the LAPD to solve the case fast. The investigation, thousands of leads, no clear answers. Hundreds of LAPD officers were assigned to find Elizabeth's killer, but right from the start, things were tough. There was no blood at the scene, no fingerprints, no weapon. The body had been cleaned so well, it was like the killer had experience with this sort of thing. The way her body had been cut in half through the spine, exactly between the second and third lumbar vertebrae, was something that required medical knowledge. Police believed the killer could have been a doctor or someone who had worked in surgery or a morgue. Then things got weirder. A few days after the murder, a package arrived at the Los Angeles Examiner newspaper. Inside were some of Elizabeth's belongings, her birth certificate, photos, and even her address book. The return address said heaven. The person who sent it had used newspaper clippings to spell out a message. Here is Dahlia's belongings. Letter to follow. More letters followed, some mocking the police. One even said he would turn himself in at a certain place and time. Police waited there. He never showed up. It was like the killer was toying with them. The confessions, 50-plus people claimed to be the killer. Here's where the story gets even more bizarre. Over 50 people confessed to killing Elizabeth Short. Men, women, old, young. Some were clearly lying, some were mentally ill, some just wanted attention. But every single one of them was ruled out. Either their stories didn't match or they didn't know key details only the killer would have known. All these false confessions clogged the investigation and made it even harder to find real leads. The suspects, a few stand out, but none proven. Despite thousands of tips, only a few suspects ever really stood out. George Hodel, the creepy doctor. Decades later, a retired LAPD detective named Steve Hodel accused his own father, Dr. George Hodel, of being the killer. George was a well-known doctor in LA, and he had a dark past. He was accused of abusing his own daughter. The LAPD actually bugged his home in 1950. On the recordings, he said things like, "Hey, supposing I did kill the Black Dahlia, they couldn't prove it now. They can't talk to my secretary because she's dead." Creepy, right? Steve claimed his dad's handwriting matched the killer's letters and that photos found in his house looked like Elizabeth. But despite all this, George Hodel was never charged. He moved overseas and died in 1999. Other suspects included Mark Hansen, a nightclub owner who knew Elizabeth and let her stay at his house. Robert Manley, the last person to see her alive. He dropped her off at the Biltmore Hotel. Walter Bailey, a surgeon who lived near the crime scene. Each had potential motives or connections, but again, no solid proof. The cold case, still unsolved. The Black Dahlia case eventually went cold. To this day, it's unsolved. New theories pop up all the time. Books, podcasts, even documentaries try to crack it, but no one has proven who did it. Elizabeth Short's murder remains one of the darkest, most chilling mysteries in true crime history. It's not just the brutality that shocks people. It's the way the killer seemed to enjoy it, the way he posed her, taunted police, disappeared without a trace. The Legacy, a Hollywood horror story. The Black Dahlia case changed how people saw Los Angeles. It reminded everyone that behind the palm trees and movie stars, there was something darker lurking. Elizabeth Short became a tragic symbol, not just of murder, but of the danger young women face chasing dreams in Hollywood. Her story is told again and again, not just because it's scary, but because it's real. We may never know who killed her, but we remember her name, Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia. If this kind of story grabs your attention, strange, dark, and mysterious, stick around. There's always more to uncover. And maybe one day, someone will finally solve the mystery of the Black Dahlia. Until then, stay curious and be careful who you trust. As always, visit us at readtherealstory.com for all the latest true crime stories and behind-the-scenes insights you won't find anywhere else.